Hello children, in this video we'll discuss lesson number 2 of Living English, that is Heidi meets grandfather. Topics that will be touched in this session will be the explanation part and the back exercise. Let's begin. On the very first page, an activity is given to you. Some pictures are shown with children named Rishi and Rupa doing different activities with their grandparents. You have to write how they are spending time with their grandparents. Like in the first picture, Rishi is playing chess with his grandma. Similarly, you have to do in the other parts as well. Just write the names of the activities that they are doing with their grandparents. After that, you are asked to write few ways about how do you spend time with your grandparents. Okay, moving on. Well, at first you should know that this story is extracted from a book named Heidi, written by Joanna Spyri. Heidi was a little girl who lived in Switzerland. Now let's read. Heidi lived with Aunt Dete in a small town in Switzerland. One morning, Aunt Dete told Heidi, "Today we will go to see your grandfather, who lives up in the mountains." So Heidi used to live with her aunt named Dete in a small town of Switzerland. One morning, Heidi's aunt informed her that today they will go to meet her grandpa, who lived up in the mountains. Heidi didn't remember him as she was too young when she met him last time. Moving ahead, grandfather lived alone. He had two lovely goats. Heidi and Aunt Dete walked up to the top of the hill where he lived. Heidi saw grandfather sitting on a bench outside the house. So, Heidi's grandfather used to live alone. Moreover, he had two goats. On reaching at grandfather's place, Heidi saw him sitting on a bench outside his house. He was sitting all alone. She went up to him and said, "Good evening, grandfather." "Good evening," replied grandfather in a low voice. Heidi had never seen anyone like him. He had grey eyebrows and a thick beard. So, on seeing her grandfather, Heidi wished him. As you know that Heidi used to live with her aunt, so she had never seen someone like him ever before. "I have brought Heidi to you," said Aunt Dete. "You will hardly know her, for you haven't seen her since she was a year old." Here Heidi's aunt said to her grandfather that she has brought Heidi to you, but maybe you don't remember her as she was just 1 year old when he saw her last time. Okay, moving on to the next page. Aunt Dete said, "Heidi, I have to go to Frankfurt. You will stay here with grandfather for a while." So Heidi's aunt had to go to a city called Frankfurt, which is in Germany. That's why she left Heidi for some time with her grandpa. Heidi was quite happy to be with grandfather. She enjoyed her new surroundings. She loved the fir trees around the house. A strong breeze was blowing through them. Heidi saw that grandfather was still sitting on the bench and staring at the ground. Well, Heidi was really enjoying her new surroundings and the company of her grandpa, as she had met him after a long time. She was loving the fir trees all around the grandpa's house. Let me tell you, fir trees are the trees with thin leaves that do not fall in winter season. But Heidi noticed that her grandfather was staring at the ground. Staring means looking at someone or something for a long time. Okay. She stood quietly before him. Grandfather looked up. "What do you want, Heidi?" he asked. "I want to look inside the house," said Heidi. "Come," said grandfather as he got up. Grandfather opened the door and Heidi stepped in. She saw a table and a chair in the big room. In one corner stood grandfather's bed. Heidi looked around carefully and asked, "Where am I to sleep, grandfather?" "Wherever you like," grandfather answered. So, as Heidi noticed that her grandpa is keep on staring at the ground, then she stood up before him. So grandfather looked at her and asked that does she want anything? Heidi replied that she wanted to explore the house. As she went in, she saw a table and a chair in a big room, grandfather's bed. Then Heidi curiously asked Grandpa that where would she sleep? On this, Grandpa replied, "Wherever you wish to." Okay. Moving on to the next page. Heidi was delighted and began to examine every corner of the room to find the best place to sleep. Near grandfather's bed, she saw a ladder against the wall. Heidi climbed up and found herself in the hayloft. There was a large heap of fresh, sweet-smelling hay, and she could see right down the valley through a window in the wall. So, delighted means very happy. After entering Grandpa's house, Heidi started finding a nice cozy corner for her to sleep. While exploring, she found a hayloft. Hayloft is a room used for storing hay. Now you must be thinking, what is hay? Well, hay means dried grass that is used for animal food. There she saw a large heap of hay, that means dried grass. Moreover, she liked that place even more because from there she could see the valley from a window. Fine, moving ahead. "I shall sleep up here, grandfather," she called down to him. "It's lovely here. Come up and see how beautiful it is. Please get a sheet for me to sleep on." So she has decided the place to sleep on and she's loving it. Moreover, she asked for a sheet to sleep on from her grandfather. Then, "All right, I am coming," said grandfather. Grandfather climbed up the ladder and found that a very neat little bed had been made in the hayloft. The hay was piled up higher at one end to form a pillow. Okay. So when grandfather came back with the sheet, he was surprised to see the bed made from hay by Heidi. All right. "And there is your sheet," he said, spreading a thick sack on the hay that Heidi had shaped into a bed. So Grandpa used a thick sack as sheet for Heidi's bed. "The bed looks lovely. I wish it was night so that I could get in the bed at once," said Heidi. "I think we should have something to eat first," said grandfather. "Yes, I am hungry too," replied Heidi. So Heidi loved her bed and both of them went to eat something first. Okay, that's all. Now moving ahead to the back exercise. In part A, you have to tick the correct answers. First one is, Heidi lived with her Father, mother, or aunt? So the correct answer is aunt. Heidi lived with her aunt. Next is Aunt Dete and Heidi walked up to the top of the hill to look at the beautiful mountains, meet grandfather, or to look down at the town below. The correct one is to meet grandfather. Third one, Aunt Dete left Heidi with grandfather because she had to go to Frankfurt. Fine. Then, when Heidi stepped inside the house, she saw a table and a chair. Fine. The last one is Heidi and grandfather made the bed with hay and sack. They didn't make the bed with logs and old clothes, right? Then, moving on to part B. Here you have to fill the blanks with words from the story. First one is Heidi lived with Aunt Dete in a small town in Switzerland. Second, Heidi's grandfather lived up in the mountains. He had 2 lovely goats. Then, a strong breeze was blowing through the fir trees. Grandfather spread a thick sack on the hay to make Heidi's bed. Alright, this completed. Now moving ahead towards part E. As you can see, some action words are given to you in a box on the right. You have to fill the given blanks to complete the sentences about the picture with these verbs. First one is Deepa enjoys playing with the ball. As you can see, the girl Deepa, she's playing with the ball. Then you just have to find the suitable verb according to the pictures. Grandpa likes reading the newspaper. Grandma likes watching television. Father enjoys cooking for the family. Mother likes gardening. Fine. Moving on to part F. Okay, you have to use the given clues to solve the puzzle. In a cross, for second number, clue given is I give you fruit, oxygen and shade. So who gives us fruit, oxygen and shade? That's a tree. So you will fill tree over here. Then for fourth one, the clue given is I am the land between 2 hills. You know that the land between 2 hills is known as valley. So just fill valley over here. Then for down, clues are for the first one it is I am a light wind. So light wind is called breeze. Fine. Then third one is I am the water that falls from the clouds. The water that falls from the clouds is called rain. Okay, now in part G, here incomplete words are given to you that will be filled with the letter AI or AY. After completing, just say them aloud, as the letters AI and AY are used to give the long sound in a word. For example, train, holiday, paint, clay, pray, nails. So with these letters the sound is stretching, right? We're giving the long sounds. Fine. Moving on to the next page. In part H, singular words are given to you. You have to fill the missing letters to make it plural. First one is chair. So the plural of chair will be chairs. So letter S is missing here. Then loaf. It will become loaves. Loaf is a big piece of bread that can be cut into pieces. Fine. Third one is bench. It will become benches. Cherry will become cherries. We'll remove Y and we'll put IES to make it plural. Then leaf will become leaves. as the words that end with F or FE, we replace it with VES, right? Then goose will become geese. Then in part I, some words are given in the box and below them 3 columns are given. In the first one, you will write those words that end with letter S after making plural. Then in second column, mention the words ending with ES. Then in the third one, words ending with IES will come. Try it yourself. Fine. Now moving ahead to part O. Here, some activities are mentioned below. You are asked to mention letter P against those activities that your parents do, and the letter I against those that you do. This you will do yourself. Fine. Like you have to tell, water the plants. Who water the plants in your house? If your parents do, write P over here. If you do, write I over here. Similarly, do rest of the ones also. Well, that's it for this video, children. Hope you enjoyed it and understood the lesson. Thanks for watching.